Now, you don't want to be missing this, and I covered it in yesterday's trade reviews right here. So I went through yesterday's possible trade setups with the live analysis, and I linked all of the live analysis that I made then right here. As you can see, now you don't need too many trades a day. All you need maybe 2 to 3 good trades. We managed to catch the top and the bottom. That's more than enough. And along the way, we try to get involved where we see some really good indicators that appear. Now, we have quite a major sell-off, but we cannot be too bearish biased yet, because I mentioned right here on the 5th one, right here at about 320, when this happened, right here when we broke through, we formed the buying channel, especially when we broke through this orange right here, that on the 30-minute chart, we created a very strong defense zone. Here, there is a demand zone now that's created here from this very strong wick. If you notice, we are actually still in a buying channel, and I highlighted it throughout the entire day. You can see we are still creating lower highs and higher highs. So we are technically still in a buying channel. Now the algorithms are still buying very systematically, and you have to recognize that, right? And we want to be seeing some form of weakness, and we got that yesterday. But there is a need for confirmation. For this, I'm going to show you what to look out for today for that sort of confirmation. Some of the important levels we want to pay attention to when we prepare for our trades today. But firstly, catalyst event later on, 2 p.m. We are going to have the FOMC meeting minutes, and these are just the release of the minutes from the last FOMC about 3 weeks ago. Now, what we want to pay attention to, obviously, will be what are the tightening plans for the Feds. Now, the next FOMC meeting will not be until 21st of September. And they've always been mentioning how they will be depending on the CPI release. As for them, they are depending on the PCE, but it's the same thing. They'll be depending on inflation reports, and the next inflation report is actually on the 13th of September. So we want to know that within this 1 month, what plans are they pairing that should be documented inside this meeting minutes, but were not publicly announced during their press conference. So that's something we want to know. Now, as with all catalyst events, that's something I've learned in my times back then. I have to know that sometimes these are not events whereby we base off the information to trade. These are more like a rallying points. And everyone knows that because a catalyst event is coming, we will hide behind some form of event to do some sort of profit taking, for example. So especially with such a bull run like this, there is also a possibility that the big money will just make use of this 2 p.m. event right here, and when the time comes, and just guise it under the report and do some profit taking. It's coordinated, we do it all together. So that could also happen. So I'm not saying it will happen, but it's a known tactic to be done like that. But regardless, always remember, whenever a catalyst event like this comes in, the volume will certainly spike. And the time before that, there may be some flagging low volume. So we expect some lunchtime quietness before large volume spike at 2 p.m. That's a possible setup. I'm not expecting too much of this FOMC meeting minutes, but you never know. There could be some hidden details that it's inside that we have missed. But more importantly, these are coordinated timings, right? The entire world is waiting for this, so it's a perfect time to be coordinating some possible moves together, right? So do keep that in mind. But regardless, as long as we adhere to structure, we will be quite safe, because SPY is a very, very liquid stock. Now remember, what we are trying to do here, firstly, is to establish the trading range, right? We have established here as the bottom of the range at 414. Yesterday I was mentioning, right, the possibility that we have this 432, 431 region that could be the top of the range, and we've always been trying to grab the top of the range. as well as a secondary top of the range here, and we were thinking this could be maybe 420 or 421. Right, as long as you can establish a trading range, you can trade the structure level by level. That's what we should be doing, at least for day trading. Right, so we'll see today. Let's base an assumption on this being the top of the trading range, and we need confirmation because it's the first time since a while we've seen such a large profit taking and defense at this top of the level. Now, we had some very good indicators to provide us with such defense, and we also noticed it right during our analysis back then. So if you remember, Gravestone Doji at the top of the buying channel, and on the 5-minute it actually formed a tri-star right at the top of the range before this large impending drop. Right, we also saw buying channel, so that buying channel was also very useful for us. Right, we needed a confirmation from the break of the buying channel. So if you were taking major positions, you had to wait at least for a confirmation of buying channel to break, and it's not too late. Right, we still had that 3-point drop over here, so very important to have confirmations. You want to be looking out for these to take your trades. So we noticed that was a very strong defended area here, this top doji here. This could be the top of the range, and that's the first assumption that we want to be making, and there are some levels that we need to see defended before this assumption can be confirmed. Now, firstly, we take a look at our Qs. Now, the Qs are a little bit weaker than SPY, we noticed. Right, the Qs, quite simply, we want to see this 333 yellow continue to be defended, and we will form head and shoulder pattern here. Now, this is a sign that the sellers have started to defend this level, and they need to start flagging drain off buyers before they can push down level by level by level. Now, this is systematic profit taking. Thereafter, you see systematic buying, you may also want to see systematic profit taking. So the first thing you have to pay attention to, the Qs 330 here. Now, the Qs are a little bit tricky because Apple is extremely strong, and so is Tesla because of the stock split. So we have to pay particular attention to that. SPY as well. Yesterday it was boosted by Walmart and Home Depot. So you see all the consumer staples are going up. Today with Target again. And always remember, we're just one bad news away from major selling. Right, remember Target that happened in May 18th right here. Single-handedly brought SPY down 20 points, and that's the power of bad news in this market, so we want to be extremely careful with that. So for SPY, similarly, we want to be taking a look at this purple 430. Now we want to see a possible defense here by the sellers before we start flagging and pushing down. So there are a few possible structures today we want to be paying attention to, looking out for. Now, we continue this buying channel here, especially when this is very defended area here. Now we want to see if this big buying channel is first being respected, or this area is being respected. Now, very different, right? If you see this buying channel being respected, then we want to see if this resistance here forming the possible right shoulder is defended, and that will push us down because we'll see an imbalance. Now, buyers are afraid to come in anymore to push further up, and that will cement this position as the top of the range. Now, otherwise, if this breaks down, then we may see a lower high, and we will probably see a higher high as well. Now, remember yesterday's video, I mentioned how this will be very defended, right? So this zone will still have some form of supply. We have not even completely covered it. Here is up till this purple 430 that exactly formed the top right here. Now, but we still have a very defended zone here because I mentioned how it's easy for the buyers to claim this 432 to yellow 436 right here, but we may not see that today, especially when we see the weakness here. But if we continue to adhere to the buying channel, right, we want to continue to see higher lows, higher highs, then this top will certainly be challenged today again. Now, just want to put in perspective and to show you, now this buying channel is really aggressive, right? For the entire week, right, we have been seeing higher lows, higher highs. So don't underestimate this buying channel, not yet anyway. But today may be the time that we see some resistance here, right, to prevent a higher high from being created. So firstly, we want to see where the support is. Could the support be at the buying channel here? Or could the support be a flat line here? Now, if it's a flat line, that's good news for the sellers, right? Because we may see some flagging here and push down. Now, we do have two layers that we need to clear, right? The first layer that the sellers may need to flag and clear is above this 429 orange here. So we may see some flagging here between this, and this will form the right shoulder and push us down. So two ways it can push us down. One is like that, right? The second way is obviously through the buying channel, but with a strong resistance. We see an imbalance like that, right? The second way that the structure can push us down is once we're below orange here, right? We have another shoulder here that we need to push down. Now, this will be a very strong support level. There will be very strong defense at this level here, right before we manage to push down. Now, if we do push down here, there's a possibility we will head down to orange. Now, we are very close, not far away from breaking the buying channel now, right? And when we break the buying channel on the daily chart, I always see this, that if we break the buying channel on the daily chart, we still can form a possible bull flag, right? And as well as a possible handle for the cup and handle in order to push up. So it's still bullish. We should not be considering two bearish movements now, but that doesn't mean we cannot get involved, right? We get involved as much as possible, but along the way, we try to find confirmation along the way. So as with all day traders, just trade level by level, range by range, one thing at a time, right? Get into stress-free position and you will be fine. So today, quite straightforward day, right? 2 p.m. or look out for that. Right, before that, there may be some chop, right? At the start of the day, we want to see if this resistance will continue to hold, and we may form a head and shoulders. And this will mean that this range here will be very protected. And once again, this doji, whenever it appears at the top of the range, you must always pay attention, right? So we may form head and shoulder here, subsequently another head and shoulder. So we may form two layers of the head and shoulder in order for the sellers to push down. Push us down below this, and in the meantime, if we do form a selling channel down, and more importantly, break through this level here, which will indicate that there will no longer be a higher low, that we may start flagging out. Now, a flag in a macro structure doesn't mean that it's bearish yet. There is weakness, but we still want to observe the structure here to see we're actually forming a bull flag to continue to push up. So there are many considerations that we need to see right here, but otherwise it's quite straightforward, right? You want to pay attention to this resistance here. This must hold. You must pay attention to this buying channel here. You must pay attention to this zone here above orange and above yellow. So this possible calls here, possible puts. If we trade under orange, then possible puts here below orange here, and here between this two, yes, possible calls. We want to see some form of flagging along the way as well. Let's see if today we form a selling channel to start some profit taking and to give confirmation for what happened yesterday. But as of right now, it's still a buying channel, right? We have very strong defense here, so not too much bias yet, although there is some indications that this could be the top of the range. We are still looking for confirmation, but we'll trade accordingly like that. And always remember, right, if you see everyday's trading plans, all you need is 2 to 3 good trades, not too many, right? The day before, right, all these are the analysis throughout the day, right? The day before, we take a look. Likewise, you just need 3-4 good trades. And remember, always pay attention to your trading ranges right now, right? We probably have a top here, 431, 432. Let's see how much this holds. We probably have a middle at 424 we want to pay attention to, and the bottom at around 414, right? So we caught the bottom, right? That's great here. Now let's see whether this 424 will hold. This is the middle of the range right here, right? That's where we want to be looking at. This could be the top of the range. Let's see whether this remains the top today. We have some confirmation signals that we want to be looking out for, some levels we want to see that's remaining to be defended, and some structure we want to pay attention to. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you closer to opening bell. Thank you very much.